I'm finna shut Detroit down. It's finna be a no-fly zone. He looked at me like, what? I'm like, turn the microphone on, dog. Put me on as soon as it's showtime. He said, man, I got my voice to find out trick. Detroit is officially a no.
Went crazy.
My mama said so.
People saying and disrespect about our city. I feel like, you know, this is my city. I'm a rap for this bitch. I don't give a how many of our mayors get indicted. I don't give a how stupid our city council is, how crooked our police is, how hard these is.
Right. So we're gonna get acquainted with what we got around these corners, and then we'll start letting a few trinklets in one at a time. And if anybody violated, we deal with that accordingly.
Detroit has always had a no-nonsense reputation. But when it comes to hip-hop, the city's no-fly zone was more than just street talk. It was a rule with real consequences. For years, rappers knew that if they pulled up to the D without the right cosign or respect, they might not leave on their own terms. Some brushed it off as just industry gatekeeping, a way for local artists to protect their turf. But now the feds are coming forward with shocking revelations that suggest the no-fly zone wasn't just about rap. It was tied to something much more dangerous, involving gangs, violence, and a power struggle that had deadly consequences. Now, as some of you probably know, at the center of the no-fly zone is Detroit's own Trick. Trick made sure outsiders knew that if you weren't tapped in, you weren't welcome. There have been many examples of artists stopped at venues, forced to pay to perform, or even turned away completely. Rick Ross allegedly had to retreat when he tried to perform in Detroit, and Tekashi 6ix9ine talked big online, but never dared to step foot in that city. But while Trick always claimed the no-fly zone was about respect and protecting the culture, federal investigators were watching closely. And what they found painted a much darker picture. And now some fans are calling Trick out for what they see as pure extortion. Besides that, fans are saying it's funny how Trick makes fellow black rappers check in when they come to Detroit, but welcomes race politicians with open arms.
Another man that they love in Detroit is a rapper, and he's one of the hottest in the world, actually. Trick. Where's Trick? Trick. Come here, Trick. Come here. Maybe we should have him do a little rapping or something, huh? Come here, look at him. He looks good. You look good.
What up, though, Detroit? If y'all know about Trick, y'all know I'm about bringing it all to Detroit. So please welcome the 47th President of the United States as we make Detroit great again.
So who's really running things in Detroit? Is the no-fly zone truly about respect, or is it a front for something shadier? Let's get into it.
On another note, Detroit has become a no-fly zone. So majority of the artists are not allowed here. Right.
So the Detroit no-fly zone is basically a warning to rappers and outsiders. If you're not from Detroit and you haven't shown love or respect to the city's rap scene, don't expect a warm welcome or a safe one. Over the years, there have been plenty of incidents where rappers were stopped from performing, turned away, or even threatened for violating the so-called rule. The whole idea of the no-fly zone took off after multiple high-profile run-ins where artists from outside Detroit were blocked from making money in the city without giving back. At its core, it's about respect, or at least that's what Trick claims. Trick claimed he originally enforced the no-fly zone as a way to protect the city's artists from being used. The way he saw it, major labels and outside artists would roll into Detroit, sell out shows, and cash in without ever collaborating with local talent or giving back to the scene that helped make them successful. According to Trick, the no-fly zone wasn't about starting problems, but about making sure Detroit's rap community wasn't just a stepping stone for outsiders looking to make a quick buck.
Well, that was just for...
What does this no-fly zone mean?
It was for record labels.
Okay.
When record labels used to have like street teams, and that was back in the A&R days. You know, they would have a promo team, take the artists, you know, A&R take the artists to different locations, and it was like they were just coming to Detroit and wasn't picking up nothing. It was like they would charge the local artists to perform. They would charge the local artists to perform, and the local artists would bring 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 people sometimes to this event that will pay to get in. It's like, how is you charging them and they bringing you revenue?
Wow.
You know, and then, you know, when it kept happening with the little homies and they was just doing it because they got money, like, you know, that, man.
Meaning paying to be
it was just
on their own stage, technically.
Exactly.
Right.
And it was radio as well. Like, you know, the Summer Jams events didn't consist of of mostly Detroit artists. They consist of everybody from everywhere else, and the Detroit artists would get charged.
Wow.
And I was like, stop everything. Wow. And the only entertainment around this gonna be what's here.
Right.
So we're gonna get acquainted with what we got around these corners, and then we'll start letting a few trinklets in one at a time. And if anybody violated, we'll deal with that accordingly.
And while some praise Trick for standing up for Detroit and making sure outsiders respect the city, others think his approach is outdated and does more harm than good. Critics argue that blocking artists from performing doesn't actually help Detroit's rap scene grow. Instead, it shuts down opportunities and creates unnecessary beef. But Trick couldn't care less. He said in an interview, "I don't give an F how it's affected my reputation. It just would be wise for promoters to call me and check on the artists they trying to book before they book them. They going to F around and book somebody I don't want here, and I'm going to tear his ass up when he gets here." Now fast forward to 2020, and Trick made sure everyone knew the no-fly zone was still alive and well in Detroit. At the height of the nationwide protests against police brutality following the murder of George Floyd, Trick had a blunt message for any outsiders thinking about coming to Detroit to protest. He wrote on IG, "These boots on the ground. Be safe. #no-fly zone on all outside disruptive MFers. Stay in your neighborhood and protest. We got our city. Anything caught destroying property in the city of Detroit will be dealt with accordingly. The few we've caught already know these to be facts. Try me." Now, as rappers who cross the line and violate Detroit's no-fly zone, they don't just get a slap on the wrist. They can face real consequences. We're talking about being banned from performing, getting publicly called out, and in some cases, even physical confrontations. Let's take it back to 2006 and the tragic loss of Proof, a founding member of D12. While his death wasn't directly tied to the no-fly zone, it had a lasting impact on Detroit's rap scene.
Rapper Proof is in a nightclub in Detroit. His real name is Deshaun Holton. According to police, an argument led to gunshots at the CCC nightclub located in Detroit's 8 Mile Road. Proof died of his gunshot wounds. His fans are reacting to the violence.
Somewhere, somehow, this has got to stop. I mean, you got good people dying. You got good kids dying. Why? For what?
Another person was injured in that shooting. Proof appeared in the movie 8 Mile.
After Proof's passing, the city's hip-hop community became even more protective of its culture, making the no-fly zone mindset even stronger. His loss reinforced the idea that Detroit isn't just another stop on an artist's tour. It's a city with deep history and respect that must be earned. And those who try to exploit it usually get checked real quick, just as Rick Ross, who faced serious threats after violating the no-fly zone. Back in 2014, Ross was set to headline a Summer Jam event in Detroit. But let's just say things didn't go as planned. According to reports, his crew was met by over 100 locals outside the venue, making it very clear that he wasn't welcome. Ross got shook and backed out, but he later denied everything and insisted he's free to touch down in Detroit whenever he wants.
Okay, what is going on with you in Detroit? There was a show that you were supposed to perform, right? And you made, you referenced it on your Twitter.
Right.
You made light of it. But now it's like the headlines are crazy. The blogs are like, Rick Ross is fearful of his life. He can't come to Detroit anymore.
Right.
So no fly zone. What's happening? What's going on with that?
Somebody is misleading our quite like yo, we went out to Detroit, we had a gig to go to, so we the team head over, to the gig. And I got my team, so my team is always in front of me, just to make it clear. I never even made it to the venue.
Okay.
I never made it to the venue. Me and whoever this gentleman is, we never crossed paths. He never spoke with Rose. And I expect him to clarify that. I expect him, to tell y'all, we never talked to Rose. We never spoke to MG. But anyway, the caravan on the way to the venue, and, they get there and someone has locked the gates to the venue. Padlocked or however they did it. The gate was locked. It was gentlemen supposed to be here. This I didn't see myself.
Okay.
It was supposed to be gentlemen here who were talking with the police, and it was very peaceful. Okay. For my team that made it,
there before you.
Right. They didn't even know it was a problem, and so You know, that's the promoter's job. You know what I mean? So
to guarantee that it's
right,
a safe situation.
Right. So, you know, the promoter himself say, you know, let's get it fixed. We say, let's go to the casino. Shout out to Greektown Casino. So we went back to the casino. And, you know, that's where we chilled. And that's when I got the story that there was supposed to be a mob gang. And, you know, that's totally false. Mm-hmm. You know, when I let that breathe for a whole day, just expecting somebody to step up and say that's not true. No one spoke to MMG. No one.
So what happens now? Like, do you go back to Detroit?
I mean, you know, for me personally,
because your fans are out there. They want to see you.
I mean, for me personally, you know, of course it ain't personal because I was paid and I was paid well. You understand? And I just feel bad for those kids that stood out there 6 hours,
right, that
wanted to see Ricky Rose and couldn't see the boss because someone padlocked the gate. You know, so for whatever reason they did this, I don't understand it. Because if it's somebody that's supposed to be from the jungle, in the jungle you don't lock the lions out. You let the lions in and lock them in. That's when you get your confrontation, if that's what you want, and that's when you get your...
And get this, Trick's own manager, Arthur Alston, later confirmed that Trick was directly involved in the situation. In an email sent to MLive.com, Alston didn't shy away from addressing what went down, and even shared an official statement straight from Trick himself. The statement read, "To all those who want to know what the no-fly zone is, please go to 1:17 on this video and quote me there." Now, the video Trick was referring to was for his song titled No Fly Zone, featuring Detroit rapper Royce da 5'9". And in the track, Trick raps, "I created these laws, so I enforce them. All we're coming for is our portion. They don't want to do what we tell them, so we force them. The full face of Timbs and Air Forces. Get dead worse than a bee in a foursome. I treat you like the Catholic Church treating abortions. We call it respect, you call it extortion." And then there was this whole Big Herc situation. If you know Detroit's underground rap scene, then you know Big Herc. He's a street-certified OG with deep ties to the city's hip-hop culture. And he's always been vocal about one thing: outsiders need to respect Detroit. Over the years, Herc has had his fair share of run-ins with artists who didn't follow the unspoken rules, including the no-fly zone. In one incident, an artist who had rubbed Detroit the wrong way was allegedly forced to leave after tensions escalated over their disrespectful attitude to the city's culture.
I'm not with all that, you know, I'm this and I'm that. Listen, man, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. I don't talk about it, we be about it, you know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
And that's it, man. I don't do all that mouthing and all that. Going back and forth with cats.
Now, Trick has always said the no-fly zone is all about protecting Detroit and its local talent. But not everyone is buying that narrative. Some people argue it's just straight-up extortion, with Trick being seen as Detroit's own version of Jay Prince. And rumor has it that Trick didn't just block rappers from performing, he allegedly had them jumped if they didn't follow his rules. If an artist came to Detroit, they either had to pay up, let a local rapper open for them, or even do a feature with a Detroit artist. If they refused, well, they might find themselves handled. And that's reportedly what went down with Jadakiss and Styles P when they were allegedly up in Detroit back in the early 2000s. And Trick didn't even try to deny it. In fact, he bragged about it in interviews later on, making it clear that if you weren't showing Detroit the respect it deserved, you were going to feel the consequences.
I want to get this from you, man. Styles P actually told this story. You didn't give it to us the last time we didn't ask you about what went down over there with Styles P. I don't know if you was involved in the situation, but yeah.
Like a motherfucker. And that situation was a result of someone's pure ignorance, because they had been forgiven for their mishandling and excessiveness twice, and then a third plea was offered to minimize the situation, and no one seemed to comprehend what was trying to be done, and so it elevated to a level to where people got a little bit of, some people got a little bit of understanding.
Now fast forward to today, and Trick still isn't backing down when it comes to enforcing the no-fly zone. In a recent interview, he made it clear that he's not apologizing for anything and doubled down on his stance, letting everyone know the rules still apply. "As far as I'm concerned, it worked," Trick said. "My intentions were pure, though sometimes violent, but if you spare the rod, you spoil the child. If somebody had a problem about the way I said Ish was gonna go where I'm from, it was gonna go my way. Whether the city like it, the police like it, it, the music industry like it, or not. But over time, things got even deeper. Violent clashes started breaking out between rival crews in Detroit, some directly tied to the rap game, others operating behind the scenes. And eventually, the FBI took notice and began connecting the dots, linking certain groups to organized crime, gun and even murder. And according to the feds, the no-fly zone wasn't just about keeping certain rappers out. It was part of something much bigger, a whole operation that went far beyond hip-hop.
Now, if you live in Detroit, you have a 1 in 51 chance of becoming a victim of violent crime.
We have a violent crime problem in our community. We have a weapons problem in our community. The officers are confiscating upwards of 500 illegal weapons a month. That's a lot of guns. And, that coupled with poor decision making, we've got a problem.
Chief White says police can patrol the streets, but not what goes on behind closed doors. COVID took its toll, but for years, Detroit has been underserved when it comes to mental health and educational resources.
Hopelessness is abound. I mean, it does happen. So we have to really try to disrupt the pipeline to jail. And I think you do that through education. You do that through mental health. And then you do that really with controlling some of these illegal weapons.
But now I want to hear your thoughts on this whole no-fly zone situation. Do you think Trick is really just protecting Detroit's legacy and making sure local artists get their fair share? Or is this all about power and control for his own benefit? Drop a comment below and don't miss out on this next video.